My name is Lucasz Platkowski. I work at GENSLER. I'm principal at GENSLER London office and design director. So my role as a studio leader as well is to make sure to run the studio of 35 people, make sure that we have enough work to sustain the 35 people, and also to make sure that the whole office is growing in the right direction. So I'm really excited to be here and to talk about the future of architecture. So the topic that I was presenting today is really about the future of offices, how people will work in the future and what tenants are expecting from the future, how there is a blend between the lifestyles and then the work styles and people's expectation of not going to work and spending time hating what they do, but really enjoying what it is that they are doing in the spaces that feel comfortable and feel like home. GENSLER is working with all our clients, with our developers. We do a lot of studies on the future of work, and we are creating spaces, very small spaces to very large spaces around the world to represent our tenants, to represent our clients and people that will be using those spaces. So our design philosophy is always to look at what the person does, and I think that right now there's a big trend and pretty much everyone is really focusing on people, how people are using the space, but we at GENSLER also have this huge data that we've collected over 20 years, that we really understand trends of the future and we really understand how those trends are shaping the way that people are behaving right now and how people will be behaving in the future, what they will be expecting from their workplace. So we really now we are challenging our clients pretty much on every project, and we will always present them with different scenarios. If the client's brief is make us a 7-story hotel, like it was in the one of the examples that I was presenting today, the one Fairchild in Shoreditch, we will come up with several different variations and we'll probably end up with something quite different than what the client expected, with a space that works for the tenants, for the client, but also for the whole community. Because the tenants are looking for communities and everybody wants to live and work within the community that supports their lifestyles. So we are using quite a lot of data. We are very proud to create a data-driven design. We invest in research. About 18% of all our profit we invest in research, and one of the deepest research that we've done, and it's over 20 years, it's what we call WPI, Work Performance Index. We basically interview our clients and their users of how they are using the space, what they feel comfortable with, how the space impacts the way that they are working. That gives us a huge amount of data, and then through that data we understand what people are expecting. But also very recently in our New York office we've installed quite a lot of sensors that are tracking how people are behaving within the office, and that again gives us, this is a beta project for ourselves, and this hasn't been done before, but we are seeing how people are using the spaces in a very different way, where people are interacting, where people are gathering, and by doing that it will allow us in the future to showcase how we can change the design of the offices and design of the spaces. This is at the moment, as I said, beta prototyping, but it's a very exciting information that we are gaining from that research that our New York office is doing. We've just recently announced the challenge to ourselves and the challenge to the whole industry of creating a net zero environment within the next 10 years. And it's a huge undertaking, and we'll do everything that we can to achieve this. All the new buildings and all the buildings, all the spaces that we are creating to be net zero throughout construction and throughout the use of the lifespan of that project. Now that has huge amount of implications for people, but also for the way that we are thinking about constructing those buildings, because obviously the type of structure has big implications on the outcome, on the CO2 emissions. A very good example is cross-laminated timber. This is a new material. It does have its own implications. It does have its own limitations. You know, the column grid is quite narrow. Floor to floor needs to be higher in the office because of all the systems that needs to go under. But we are researching that material quite extensively for the use of the office, because it is being used quite often right now for residential projects, but not that much for the office because of those reasons that I've mentioned. But we are now working with several clients in our London office trying to see how we can use CLT in a smart way to create spaces that not only don't generate CO2 but actually absorb the greenhouse. So architects are pretty much storytellers, and architects are curators of our client needs. So the major skills I believe that architect needs to acquire is to be able to listen. To be able to listen what their clients are saying, what they want, what their businesses want. And when I say businesses, it can be a small residential building. For that particular person, that for that client is the business of living in a way. So we really need to listen. This is one element, and then the other one is we need to collaborate. And we need to collaborate between ourselves, within the architecture industry, and we need to be a lot better collaborators with the whole real estate industry, but also with academia, with our clients, and the whole larger spectrum of people that are focused on real estate. I really believe that the era of a design guru sketching something on a napkin and saying you go and do it, it's kind of over. It's, of course, there's a need for that, and there will be companies that are based on that type of business model. But I really believe that the future is in collaborating, conversation, and listening, and creating something new, something that hasn't been done before. Well, when we are looking at technologies, we need to look at very different sectors of real estate. In tall buildings, the technology that will have the most profound impact will most likely be lifting technology, how we are moving people up and down. In residential, those will be materials. So it is difficult to say what technology will really impact the industry the most. But as a overlying factor, when we are thinking about technology, we are thinking about invisible technology that allows to use the building in a very smart way, and it allows building to track and adapt to the people that are occupying that building. So this is something that we will not see, but the building will be a lot smarter because of that technology. There is quite a lot of really interesting proposals of creating architecture outside our own planet. And I think it's really interesting from the research point of view. It's really interesting from the point of view of looking at new materials, how people will be living in the future. But I really believe that we need to sort out our own planet before we go somewhere else. I believe that we need to focus on creating a better architecture, more responsible architecture in here, rather than go and try to destroy other planets. How we can create more responsible architecture, this is subject that everyone is looking at, and there's no one single answer for this. What is really good is that right now we are in the era that the sustainability sells. We do see that that the sustainable building will have 20% faster leases than traditional buildings. So that's something that the clients are also really focused on right now, because they know that they will get better return on investment. So this is a very positive subject, and we really need to start investigating a lot more new technologies, new materials, and the new ways of using the buildings, or reusing buildings that are already existing on the planet. The construction industry is a very interesting one, because the construction industry indeed didn't make such a big progress as all the other industries, the media, the tech industries. The UK government did realize this, and the introduction of BIM is trying to tackle that issue. We do need to make sure that the construction is creating better ways and faster ways of bringing buildings to life. I think that the whole construction industry knows this as well, and there's a lot of interest and a lot of research on prefabrication, whether it's flat pack prefabrication or 3D printing. So the industry is looking in new ways of creating the building, but more importantly of using the building. And this is where the technology comes in. That's where all the data that the technology can allow to gather is coming in, and the new buildings are being constructed in a much smarter way, and they operate in a much smarter way, because 80% of the cost is in operating the building rather than in creating the building. So this is where the biggest savings can be, and the savings, dollar savings, but also environmental savings. So the construction industry is definitely improving. has improved over the last 5 years, but there's still a lot of ways to and a long way to go. I also have to say that being an architect right now is very exciting because because of the way that architecture industry goes. There is no, as I've mentioned, there's no guru that tells you what to do. It feels like it's a very entrepreneurial field right now, and you really can do what you want to do if you behave in the right way. So it's really exciting time. I think that in the next 10 years will really change the whole industry, and it will change the construction industry, the real estate industry, will change the way that people are living.